I'm muting.
Welcome, everybody. I'm here with Kelly, Big Jeff, and Dr. Silkman. And today we're going to be discussing a few emails and whatever happens after that. It's fair game, open discussion. If you guys got questions in the comments section, we'll address those too. Wait for a couple of people to get in here. How you guys been?
I've been doing great. Work, they're trying to kill me at work, and it's cutting seriously into my research time. But other than that, doing okay. I mean, I think in this COVID environment, a lot of people have it really tough. And, I'm kind of working from home, so I'm on the easy side of it. My wife is a nurse. She's got to go in there every day. So hats off to our first responders. They don't have it. They don't have it easy.
Yeah, that's true. Silkman,
Mm.
how you been doing?
Yeah, I've been doing good. I'm feeling better every day. My recovery is improving. I'm going to the hospital all the time, but things are looking much better. And yeah, look, thank you so much for inviting me. It's good to get together with the crew.
Good to see you. And Kelly,
Likewise.
how you been?
I've been really good, actually. Same with everyone at the moment. Work and a few personal things that's going on in my life, and then and I'm still doing the blood experiments. So I've been going since the 18th of December. So I've almost finished that off now. It's just a matter of editing and putting it all together, and then me and Sukman are hopefully going to present it.
I'm very,
Awesome.
very, very interested in what you guys are going to bring and show. So,
Can we expect a visitation from Inspector T anytime soon?
Well, yeah, hopefully soon. He's been extremely busy. He's changing fields at the moment. So I've kind of backed off a little bit just to give him a bit of space because he's pretty, like it's a big transition. So, yeah, he just said once he gets his feet back on the floor, it's all ground running. So we'll get him back and we'll get him to cover some more stuff. But as always, he always does send me messages asking how the case is going and wants updates. And so he's keen as mustard. So it's really good that he's still interested.
Well, let him know that it could be his fault if Steven doesn't get out. So let's get him on the line.
Yeah, hey, it's all on him. I'll let him know.
That's right.
so well, since we're talking. My mic went out. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep, definitely can hear you.
I can hear you.
My microphone
Hey, Kath.
dropped out.
Hey. Morning, y'all.
Hey, yeah.
Y'all. Morning.
Morning.
Y'all.
So, as I was saying, Kelly, what are your thoughts on this Colborn's lawsuit?
When I first heard about it, I honestly thought they, no doubt, we're going to probably settle before we go to any trial or whatever. But now that I've been reading these and seeing what he was actually going for, which is $14 million, if that's what he's still putting to the table, I can now actually see Netflix fighting this, because I cannot see them actually going, yeah, sure, here's $14 million. Besides the rest of it, in a nutshell, it's all bullshit. I I don't know what he's trying to prove. How do you prove damages of his vagina being sandy? Like, seriously, it's just ridiculous. That's the best way I can sum it up, to be quite honest with you.
Well, we got this first email that he wrote right after the documentary was released. He says, "Hey boss, please check out this website, newstalk1130.com. The name of the show is Debunking Making a Murder by Dan O'Donnell. It exposes every lie in every episode of the Netflix story." Now, let's stop here. Colborn has claimed to have never seen any episode of Making a Murderer. He only read transcripts. So, I'll continue. It exposes every lie in every episode of Netflix story. Some other facts I've come up with is, 1, the documentary continues to re-victimize the Halbach family and destroys the closure the Halbach family sought and gained through the conviction. 2, the Manitowoc County District Attorney's Office had little to no direct involvement in the 2005 prosecution of Stephen Avery, and the DA from 1985 prosecution was gone long before the 2005 case. 3, the primary investigative agencies for the 2005 case was the Calumet County Sheriff's Office and DCI. However, due to the enormity of the scene, assistance was sought from Manitowoc Sheriff's Office, the Wisconsin State Patrol, Manitowoc PD, and the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. And no time were the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office investigators searching or collecting evidence without a CASO deputy present. And at times also a crime lab tech was present. 4, Stephen Avery's residence was searched several times due to that being in the direction of the DCI and CASO. Each search was targeted search for specific items. For example, one search consisted of locating and collecting Avery computer and related computer hardware. 4, Jim Link and I had no involvement in the 1985 investigation of Stephen Avery. In 1985, I was in the United States Air Force, stationed at the Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. Jim Link was a resident of the living in the state of Michigan. Neither Jim Link or I was ever sued by Stephen Avery. Manitowoc Sheriff's Office and Tom Kosurek was a target of the Avery lawsuit. Prior to the 2005 homicide investigation, I had never investigated a case involving Stephen Avery, nor had I ever negative contact with him. I barely knew who he was. I did not step foot in Manitowoc County until 1991. I am not from here, and I was hired at Manitowoc Sheriff's Office. Stephen Avery was in prison. I have never done a traffic stop with any vehicle operated by Teresa Halbach on the night she was reported missing to me by CASO. I requested her vehicle description as well as registration plate number. I had no way of running the information given to me by CASO from my patrol car. So I don't buy that. I really don't
What does
buy
he
that.
say that he has
First
no?
thing you can buy.
What did he say? Yeah, the whole lot. Why didn't he? What did he say? He had no way of running it. Well, why ask for it?
I don't know. So I had to call into dispatch to have them run Teresa's registration plate through Wisconsin Department of Transportation to ensure that I copied down the plate number correctly. I had to have this information verified in case I located her vehicle at either of the 2 locations I was requested to check in Manitowoc County. I made contact at both locations. The case requested I checked for Teresa. It's the same, he spells her name wrong. Not just the Avery salvage yard. No evidence was planted at the time by any law enforcement officer during the course of the investigation. The key to the Teresa's vehicle was not discovered laying next to the pair of shoes in open, but it was instead located cleverly hidden behind a bookcase in Stephen Avery's bedroom. It should be also noted that during a court preparation at CASO, a CASO deputy informed me, Jim Link, Ken Kratz, Mark Wiegert, Tom Fassbender, that during a movement of Stephen Avery at CASO, Avery had stated mockingly to the CASO deputy, "I can't believe it took you guys 8 times to find that key. I'm unaware if the statement was used at Avery's trial, and if not, why." At no time have I ever access to any container of Stephen Avery's blood, sweat, and or other bodily fluid connected with the Stephen Avery. At no time did any of the what I don't know what the fuck he wrote there. Aforementioned law enforcement agencies, along with the FBI, enter sort of conspiracy to container of Stephen Avery's blood, sweat, and or other bodily fluid connected with Stephen Avery. 10. At no time did any of the aforementioned law enforcement agencies, along with the FBI, enter into any sort of conspiracy to frame Stephen Avery of this homicide. Manitowoc Sheriff's was not involved in the interview of Brendan Dassey. Stephen Avery has now claimed during the appeals his brothers Charles Avery, Earl killed Teresa, set him up in order to deny Stephen a portion of the salvage business. I would be willing to sign any release to allow access to both my utility service, personal file in Manitowoc County, as I never been a target of suspicion. I feel my service to both my country and Manitowoc County has always performed to the best of my ability. Now, he claims he has never watched the documentary.
As if.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Well, we'll go to the emails.
Well, another thing he claimed at trial was that he didn't recall making that call. Right? What did he do? Rack his brain?
Well,
how did it come to him all of a sudden?
They played call for him, and Dean says, "You said 99 Toyota, not the dispatcher." And he says, "Oh, the dispatcher did." And he plays it back for him.
Yeah, and the other thing, is this Colborn's lawsuit?
No, this is before it.
Oh, right. So I was going to say,
this is right after making a murder. This is right after making a murder came out. Now we have these. Title forward: $14 million lawsuit against TV documentary.
14 million.
Lieutenant, I have now watched 7 episodes. Your courtroom testimony, including your cross-examination, inferring your planted evidence, along with others at the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, and the public statements by the special prosecutor and a defense attorney. At this point, I see nothing that would lead me to take on an investigation, potential defamation case. While I personally find the defense attacks on the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department preposterous, as did the jury, the documentary has done little more than what happened in court. So this is him telling them that he doesn't have any kind of claim. Now we have, sir, thank you so much for your
who is that last email that you read? Who is it from and who is it to? Do we know that?
I'm assuming it's from Patrick O'Dunphy because they redacted Colborn's name. Somebody else was, so I don't know. It's redacted.
It's from Colborn's lawyer back to him saying, "I don't see any defamation case here."
I'm assuming he met. Well, I guess he had to file it with the Sheriff's Department first to see if they take his case. And I guess they said there's nothing. So then he eventually got together with Griesbach. But
look, it's never bothered Colborn that there's nothing. He produced a key out of nothing, so why can't he produce a lawsuit out of nothing?
Well, this is him responding to the guy saying he watched 7 episodes, and what happened in the documentary is what happened in trial. So, right. Sir, thank you so much for your prompt reply. Like you, I have refused to watch it. In a small act of defiance, I have canceled my Netflix subscription. I can try and get to the info from others who have suffered through it. I can tell you specifically what the defense claimed during the trial because I testified. The claims by Netflix documentary mirror those claimed by the defense during the trial. I will get my notes together and addresses.
That's not laughing. I'll cancel my Netflix.
So why isn't he suing Jerry Beauty and Dean Strang?
I was like, when he was like, for the other people that have suffered through this, for when we suffered having to watch Paul Brennan get coerced in his confession, that's the only thing that's so suffering about this show this documentary is watching these 2 men being convicted of something that they didn't do.
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
Yeah, just two things. One is sort of more like a flippant comment. Yeah, I read that email about Colborn a long time ago, and you know that he's completely changed his story about the key.
Oh yeah, I know.
The key now was cleverly hidden behind the bookcase, whereas before it fell out of the bookcase. So one, he changed his story, which is ridiculous. But the other thing is, and I think this is a greater problem, guys, Netflix is now the enemy. Okay. If you have a look at Netflix, Netflix has got a lot of documentaries that expose shenanigans in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, like Trial 4, Making a Murderer, and there's heaps of others. There's now a concerted effort by, well, at least by the MTSO to shut it down, right? Because it's very damaging to the police establishment. And I think this is just a watershed case. The directors and the lawyers of Netflix, they're not dumb. They know the implications.
Okay, so with the bookcase, is he claiming that he shook it vigorously, or how did he?
No, he's now saying in his email that the key was actually behind the bookcase. It was cleverly hidden because they can't understand, no one can understand how this key magically appeared out of the bookcase and fell where it did. Because if the key was in the bookcase, it would have fallen straight down at the back. So how the hell did that key get behind the corner and next to the slippers?
Yeah.
So he's actually changed his story, Calf, to sort of say, oh, yeah. It was me shaking and rolling the bookcase.
Another strange
the
thing,
key got displaced.
How did Stephen Avery's toothbrush go from on top of his sink to underneath it?
Oh, look, there's no doubt they were touching everything. They were touching everything and denying everything.
We have that Jody Stevens phone call. She asked him, "Why is your toothbrush underneath the sink?" He says, "I don't know."
So with his first email or whatever, and he sounded like he was defending the whole of the law enforcement in it. And then the second one, does he do the same thing, or does he just try and defend himself because he's the one that's actually?
Well, he's defending. Well, when he first wrote LeBray at the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, he was defending him and James Link.
It sounded like he was defending everyone.
But his lawsuit is just him. He's claimed that he has had to build a safe room in his house for him and his family. That him and his family can't go out in the public because they get ridiculed. I don't believe this. Kratz, I can see Kratz getting it, yes, but not Colborn, not as much as he claims.
Yeah, but don't you think, Millbilly? I mean,
I don't deny that he's probably got nasty emails. I get nasty emails.
Well, you deserve them.
So what? He wants compensation. He wants money to make it all go away.
Yeah, but I still think the greater issue is to slap Netflix on the wrist and do it really hard. And that explains why the amount that he's requesting is an excessively high amount. I mean, that's outrageous.
How much was it?
40 million, I think he wants to. He's claiming.
Yep.
Oh, he's not going to get that. No way.
Well, up until the last hearing, they hadn't discussed anything with either side. They hadn't even communicated. I wonder if Griesbach asked for Duffin. I mean, his brother is a judge right alongside Duffin, so. Then again, it could have been Netflix side too. But I just find it funny that the judge wanted to make it very clear to both sides that he has not watched the documentary and he doesn't intend to.
Well, yeah. Put it this way, guys. If Netflix pays Colborn, everyone will be cancelling their Netflix. Everyone will be cancelling their Netflix account. I would. That's shocking.
Yeah, I think for Netflix, as you pointed out, Dr. Silkman, that they have now so many such documentaries on the table where, you know, they're painting a villain.
Yes.
That they're simply not going to be able to afford everyone wanting to sort of, wet their beak, if you let me make a Godfather reference right there.
Yes.
And they have to fight this, even if they were to give Colborn a small amount of money, some pittance. I'm sure the actuaries are sitting behind it. The old story goes that, oh well, I'm gonna have to pay my lawyers $100,000 to finish this off. If I offer Colborn 75, then I win at the end of the day. But with the the massive take a number thing that might happen if they actually settle with him out of court, then to me it seems worth it for them to fight him on this. I don't see them. I'm not sure I see them settling, or if they do settle, it'll be for an untold amount.
Yeah, I agree. But guys, there's a greater picture here, right? And because you could see that there are many streaming services who are doing these fantastic documentaries. So the implication will be, oh boy, do we stop doing these exposés for the fear of being sued, or do we try and reveal the truth as we see it? Now, part of the problem with Making a Murderer is that a lot of law enforcement didn't come on the show and provide their side of the story. And I think Kelly will back me up on this. If you saw the documentary about the Cecil Hotel, about the Elisa Lam, that was brilliant because it was a balanced documentary whereby you had the police, you had the coroner, you had the internet sleuths all together, and it was a fantastic production. But in Making a Murderer, you don't really see the side of the law enforcement officers. And that's why in Making a Murderer at the end, they've got that huge list of people that didn't want to talk to them.
Mm-hmm. And that's not really a reflection on Netflix, because I don't know whether you guys watch it as well. I'm pretty sure you guys did, but there's a gentleman on YouTube that did a interview recently with Buting, and Buting actually says, listen, the lawyer, like the state was working with Netflix, but right at the end, they put out a thing that said that they don't want to now be involved in it.
Yeah.
So they had very equal opportunity, but they chose to withdraw their part in it. Yeah. So that's really.
And from what I hear, they all were talking to the producers of Netflix or the documentary, and then they didn't sign the waiver, so they couldn't use any of their footage except for the footage they got in trial.
So is Colborn like just suing Netflix in general, or the producers, Laura and Maura, do they come in and on anywhere?
They're suing Netflix and them.
Oh, and then.
But the attorney is representing all of them together.
Right, I got you. Although we're not in mediation, probably.
The lawyers typically end up going after the entity with the money, and Laura and Moira don't really have any money, so it doesn't really make any sense to go after them because you can't. You're not going to get anything out of them. The big money is from Netflix, right? He's claiming that they deceptively edited, and Netflix really, whether they did or not, and they might actually have based on what he says. They did win an Emmy for editing. Netflix won the Emmy for editing for that series, so they can't really deny that they had nothing to do with the editing when they won an Emmy for editing.
Don't forget, they had originally made the documentary one episode, and it appeared at some festival. And
that's correct.
They did whatever they did with that disappeared, and now they started a new one. So I'm assuming they used that to pitch that to Netflix too. Because when they brought it to Netflix, they already had a few episodes already made.
But is Colborn is he saying that he actually hasn't seen the episodes?
Correct. He just said he read transcripts.
He read transcripts, right? Mm-hmm. So the lawsuit has got nothing to do with the phone call that he made about the Toyota 99. Is that correct? Because
No, he's claiming, well, like the judge said, Duffin said that your claims are valid, but the statute has run out, and there's nothing I can do about that. But
yes,
they take Kratz's talking to Colborn, asking him questions. They use his answer to something that Dean asked Colborn.
right.
Like at the end of, after the whole playing of him calling in the plates, they play a portion at the end of him saying, "This is the first time my integrity has ever been questioned." That happened when he was talking.
Yes.
That happened when he was talking to Kratz.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he's making that goofy face where it's all scrunched up like he's just been bagged. I think he claimed that despite the fact he didn't see the documentary, he somehow read out of the transcript that he was making some goofy face, and then he somehow knew that this was taken from another time in the trial that wasn't immediately after what was said. And so he might be right that it might have been deceptively edited. That doesn't change my mind as to how the key, the strangeness of the key, the strangeness of the license plate.
Yeah, same with me. And that's what they do. It's like reality.
They say that Colborn and Leak found the key, but on the papers, they don't even mention them being there. It's Kacharsky.
Kacharsky, correct.
Search warrant said they found the key on the 7th. Was it the 7th or the 8th? Is it a coincidence that they start finding everything after Cuss Road?
Correct.
I'm serious.
Correct. It was the 8th.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
The thing is, though, isn't this part of the suit one that got dismissed, though, because that was the limitation has expired? So isn't it actually he's suing now for something that happened in MAM 2?
Yep. Right before the Ludwig hearing, like 3 or 4 days before the hearing, he filed motions for season 2.
Now,
so had he not done that, Ludwig could have just thrown his case out. But I just don't understand, because Peppers had it first. She said that there's conflicting statements from both sides, and she has nothing better to do than go to an evidentiary hearing. Then it goes to Ludwig, and he don't even do that. He suggests them to try to handle this amongst themselves, and then passes it off to Duffin when he's requested by one or the other parties. I don't know which one. I haven't got access to that document. I cannot buy it yet. It's not on the website. It'd be interesting to see these letters that he had them each write.
But Millbilly, is the issue that he's suing in season 2, is that due to the Ramlo incident? As in they're trying to say that he was the police officer that got told about the RAV4 being down at the turnaround? Is that what he's suing them for?
I guess so. Okay. That's the only thing that's the only thing that involves Colborn in season 2. Otherwise it's KZ testing and then the Dassey side of it.
They didn't show his testimony again in MAM 2? I guess I can't remember the...
I don't know. I've only seen each season one time, and that was, 5 years? 4 years ago? 3 years ago? When season 2 came out? I watched it the day it came out. All 10 episodes.
Oh, you watched this. You watched the March conference by Kratz live.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I'm pretty sure that they had that trial scene over again in MAM 2. That's my recollection. They can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I think that I think his claim is deceptive editing, and that's what.
I've always been curious of what may have happened to all the information that Dean and Jerry's investigator had, because he died. Did he give them everything? Was he holding on to some stuff?
What would be his motivation for doing that?
I don't know.
No.
Never know.
Yeah,
I can't see this going too far in court. I think they'll probably end up just at mediation and doing some sort of settlement, and it won't be nowhere near 14 million. Not because my face was screwed up in one part and they made it look like it was me saying it because I was calling in the plates. You don't get 14 million for that.
No.
Yeah.
No way. They won't even want that in the court system. That'll go to mediation and you'll get a lot less.
Well, that's where we're at now. That's what's happening next. It's a settlement, isn't it?
Settlement
like
hearing.
Hearing, yeah.
Our settlement conference.
Mediation. So it's going to be interesting because it depends. At the end of the day, though, it's not always. We don't know what he's now asking for. So he brought upon the 14.
I will find out on the 9th. I will let y'all know.
And let's put all bullshit aside, right? Let's say he really is cut up and he's, I'm not going to say innocent of doing anything, but let's just say in his head he didn't do anything wrong. What is money going to do to fix his, sad little soul right now? For all we know, he could be sitting there and saying to them, listen, what I want in some of my conditions is you pull the episodes, you put a disclaimer in there and say that, this was heavily edited and that I am not, that I was not responsible for ABC. It might not be just about the money. He might be actually asking for also that to happen as well. So his name is cleared, because it seems like, what's the point of just going after them for saying that there's so much damage and just wanting money when you're not rectifying that the information in his eyes is still out there? So for all we know, he could be asking that as part of his request as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you could be, but you can't unview 20 million views. That's show business. That's
show business. How many people have complained that they were in an episode of something, a documentary or whatever, and it didn't happen the way that it looked like it happened? They said it was heavily edited.
I'll let you know in 2 weeks' time, Kath. I'll let you know in 2 weeks' time when my show goes to air. I'll let you know how edited this shit can really be. A reality show, let's see how edited this thing can be. I'll let you know.
So you're going to do a lawsuit too, Kelly?
No, because no one would believe her. It'd be like, yeah, that's Kelly, for sure.
I'd be like, they edited that I swear too much. Everyone would be like, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, I just can't see this going too far, really.
What are your thoughts on Stephen Avery's case? Do you think we're going to hear something anytime soon?
Yes, I do.
I do.
When?
I do.
Next month?
Yeah,
April?
What is it now?
Hopefully soon.
I reckon by June.
Sent to the 3-judge panel November 9th. So.
How much of a? I mean, it's just hard to gauge how much of a COVID backup there was. I mean, there had to be, some large cessation of activity that's just sort of, exacerbating this whole situation. I wouldn't be surprised, whatever date we thought it was when we did the read with Travis, he thought it could be within 6 months at that time, right? Because of the way that the cases were flowing. That's his wild guess, not as his official legal guess, but I put another 3 months on that just because of COVID at least.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be reopening the schools here, but who knows? They're about to drop the mask mandate here in Wisconsin, but then they realized they wouldn't get that federal funding anymore, so they decided to keep it. What does that tell you? They're only doing it for the money now.
That's the most important thing right there.
And Governor Everett just signed a $322 million to help people pay their rent. So, where that money's coming from?
Millbilly, you've been asked a question in chat from Shane Henry. Millbilly, why was the plates taken off, in your opinion?
I don't know. Not her car.
No, oh no, don't start that one.
Oh, wow.
That's why I was reluctant to answer that, because that's where I can't
I've
answer
got
that
an
because
Well,
I think that if you want to stage a car in a junkyard and you want to stage it to look like a junk, first of all, it's pretty stupid where they put it with the older cars anyway. But if you wanted to stage a car in a junkyard, and you're gonna have people casually walk by it, because as you know, that's what people do. They go out looking for parts, and having the plates on the car really makes it stand out in the junkyard as something that doesn't belong. If you're trying to hide a tree in the forest, you really want it to look like a tree. Why you put it with the older model cars, I don't know why you do that.
What about if it was parked somewhere else? You'd want the plates off of it because the police were looking for that number plate. They could have put other plates on it and driven it around, and then taken them off when they put it there.
yeah,
Because
I actually,
law
we have
enforcement were looking
we have
look like-
officers and firefighters doing trunk shirts of all the cars. You think they would have started at Stephen Avery's house and worked their way? I wouldn't be surprised if they searched the station wagon already and them plates weren't there. And Colborn is there popping trunks on all the damn cars all willy-nilly. Barb's got keys to all the goddamn cars. They don't even try to call her. Nope, we're going to break everything. I mean, look what they did to Steven's trailer. Look what they did to
Yeah,
the
they tore
garage.
they tore it apart. But just going back on those number plates, I agree with Shane.
Dude, they did it
I
in 2
think
days.
if
2 days. They destroyed his bedroom.
correct. Just
like
going
a
back on the
bomb went
number
off.
plates, it did. But just going with what Shane said, I believe it's to complement and also to protect Colborn, because if Colborn was standing in front of the RAV and the number plates were on it, then when they found the RAV, when Pam of God found the RAV, she says, "Oh, look, the number plates are off." In fact, I believe she was actually asked about the number plates. So that would tend to give kudos to Colburn's story that no, I wasn't there. I didn't see any number plates. But quite clearly, the last thing you would do is put crumpled number plates
We
in a
have
station wagon.
we have Colborn calling in that plate, and then he's sitting across the street from the Zipperers in the church
Yes.
driveway, and
Yes.
you hear Remaker say, "Does Andy get any plate info come back too?" He says negative. That's because he had run a plate. Then a little bit of time later, he then runs the car sitting in the Zipperers driveway. He runs their plates. Why do we have on dispatch him running Zipperer's name, but we don't have him running Stephen Avery's?
Yes.
Or Barb Yonda, because he didn't even know about Stephen Avery until he went and talked to him.
Right.
And why is the dispatcher at Calumet referring to Stephen Avery as Teresa Halbach's friend?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It says Dietering is on his way to Zipperers because I guess the guy got an attorney. And she was at some other friend, apparently Stephen Avery, her friend.
Yeah.
And Dietering says he's en route to Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. He then gets the phone pings, and then he doesn't go right away because Wiegert is looking for him, and he calls in, talks to Jerry Pagel, and he informs Wiegert that Dietering is standing right next to him. But he just radioed in the dispatch 10 minutes earlier, said he was en route. That means he's driving. Just the lack of audio from Manitowoc is so sketchy. There's, 79 calls? I've deciphered half of it so far. I started at the end and started working my way forward. Because you can hear things in the background of some of the dispatch calls, and you can hear it in queso audio. Like the tip to Green about the Green Bay, about the stalker. you can hear in the background radio chatter from Calumet. I found when the audio is happening, so I can pinpoint when that call is taking place. And I've also been using documents too. It's been a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It's a giant puzzle.
Yes, it is a puzzle.
Just need these missing jail calls.
Just going back to the Colborn side of it, Mabel, if you don't mind me asking the panel here, I just want to ask them all a question, and I think it's fair for anyone really, even in the comments. Playing the devil's advocate, what do you think about this, right? So we've got Colborn obviously has reached out to all these lawyers beforehand trying to get someone to pick up his case. Now, people are obviously feeding back to him saying, listen, at this point of the time, there's no case I can see, rah, rah, rah. Now, when they finally took on his case, this is the thing that gets me a little bit going, they would have warned him pretty early on. They would have said to him, listen, this is how it goes. This is how it usually works. You go from A to B, you will go to a mediation, and if that doesn't work, we go to trial. Once we get to trial, for a civil suit, it's fair game. It has less restrictions than a criminal case. So, you know, once you get to civil case, if it goes to trial, all gloves are off. They can present things, they can subpoena people, they can get you to do the book, they can cover everything. In the back of his mind, if he was really, really guilty and he was warned, hey, listen, if you go to trial, you can actually get found guilty. Like you've got people like the West Memphis situation with Terry Hobbs. He tried to sue, I think it was the Dixie Chicks and stuff, and he ended up losing, and they all pretty much found him basically guilty himself in the civil.
They're called the Chicks now. They got rid of the Dixie part.
Oh, okay, the Chicks. So anyway, so that's what I'm trying to say, though. He would have been forewarned about this. Said, listen, if we go to civil case and it goes all the way to the trial, you really want to make sure that you can't go pointing fingers if your hands are dirty, boy, because I tell you what, it'll all come out. Yeah, it seems like he was like, listen, go for it. I got nothing to hide. So my question is it a bluff, or do you think generally there is a possibility that he isn't involved in the planting, and this is his way of really driving that home, going, this is bigger than the money. Hey, this is proving I've got nothing to hide.
He could be a patsy. He could be all Link and Jacobs. But
I agree.
We got him calling in the plates, and he claiming that he can't run. I don't buy that. They got computers in their damn car. Than they did back in 2005. How do you think? They? I don't buy it.
I missed the question. Is the question, is there a possibility that he is actually was completely unaware of any wrongdoing by MTSO, or he didn't participate in it?
Explain the 1996 call that he didn't forward onto authorities when he was getting a phone call from Brown County stating they have the wrong person that just said that you got somebody in jail that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah. The one that you mean, the one that he was deposed for and then later claimed in that email that you read that he wasn't involved in the Stephen Avery case in 1985, that one?
yeah, that one.
But yes, Jeff, basically that's my question. Do you think that because he would have been warned that if this goes all the way, is this his way of saying, I've got nothing to hide, go for it? Whether he was a pawn in that maybe he was part of the plant because he was, he was the fall guy, because let's face it, he's the one that gets fingered at it, all of it, even though, yes, he was the one that called in the plates, and yes, he has a 1986 situation or 1985 with the whole calling and whatever. But the thing is, do you think, because he would have been warned, a lawyer would have said to him, listen, if this goes all the way and we go to trial, they can pull out all stops. If you are guilty, if you have been involved in anything at all, in any planting or wrongdoing, I highly suggest we don't go forward. But he obviously went, nope, go forward. And is that his way of saying, listen, I got nothing to hide? So the question is, do you think it's a front? Do you think it's all a bluff because they're hoping it'll just settle at a mediation? Or do you think that, hey, maybe we have to take it at face value that this is his way of saying, I didn't do anything?
No, I don't believe that. If I could just comment, I think it's a bluff. And the reason why I reckon it's a bluff is because Colborn knows that the defense team was not able to finger him for any wrongdoing per se. As in,
Well,
they didn't have a material witness that came forward with definitive proof to say, Colborn, I saw you there. And they didn't have another independent witness to say, yep, I saw Colborn here and he did this. So Colborn actually knows that during the Stephen Avery trial, they weren't able to pin anything on him. So therefore he goes, okay, if you really think I did this, where's your evidence? So he's going for all broke. He's going for broke. So what does Netflix actually do? Do they call his bluff and say, look, okay, we know we sort of did something mischievous by doing some creative editing. Here's $100,000 or whatever, go away? Or do they say, all right, we're going to push this to the limit? And in other words, call in witnesses, etc., etc. So it could either get very messy or they could tidy it up really quick. But I believe that people have been talking to Colborn and said, listen, they never fingered you during the trial. You've got nothing to lose, mate. Go for it.
What happened to the guy that saw the did he see the flyer or the RAV or something?
Ramlo?
Kevin Ramlo.
Yeah, Kevin Ramlo, that's right. And then started texting Scott. He said it was Andy Colborn.
Yep, and that was
Correct.
in season 2, and that's why Colborn submitted his claims for season 2. But Zellner's got an affidavit signed that that's the truth, so all she needs is her day in court, and it's all going to come out.
Yeah, the day that Ramlo claims to have seen Colborn was his day off, and why would he be in uniform on that day? I mean, there's a lot of detectives who match the description of Colborn.
Ramlo's seen the car. Ramlo's seen the car on the 3rd, and he's seen Colborn at the gas station on the 4th, and he told them about seeing that car at the turnaround.
Right.
The last person to see the car at the turnaround was Robert Fabian, but then he changed his statement and said it was a green Jeep.
Because of the headlights, it's because of square headlights.
Yeah, but the issue here, guys, is deeper, because if Ramlo saw the RAV4 on the 3rd, and then on the 4th, Ramlo goes up to Colborn and says, oh, by the way, I saw the vehicle down at the turnaround. When did Colborn make the call in the plates? Was it the 3rd?
It was the 3rd.
3rd, yeah.
So we don't have any audio at all for the 4th from Manitowoc.
Right.
Whatsoever.
So therefore, can you imagine the horror of Colborn that there's now an independent witness who said, I saw the RAV4 at the turnaround.
Why don't we have to these residences? Because he didn't. Or
Correct.
They didn't give it to us. Because when Jerry Buting is cross-examining Remaker, he slips up, mentions the audio he used to prepare for his testimony. Jerry Buting messes up. He asks for only the audio that Remaker had reviewed. He should have asked for all of it.
Correct. And didn't they write, and was it an MTSO report in which they had the RAV4 in custody on the 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't you think that's rather bizarre that they would write a report and actually date it?
Well, another strange thing is that the case, it's entered into the CAD system, closed out, and then reopened.
Right.
And when Colborn runs the plates, her information's already in the CAD system as a missing person.
Yes. In that report, didn't they say that she was kidnapped?
Yes, because they found her car and not her.
Okay. So that to me points. That to me is very suspicious because weren't they meant to find the car on the 5th? So what's this report doing on the 3rd? It doesn't make any
It
sense.
doesn't make any sense.
Nothing in this case makes sense because they framed him. And what they did to Brendan Dassey proves it.
Oh
Correct.
yeah.
Mm.
Correct. So if that's the case, then to me, everything that happened on the 5th, they were just waiting for Pam of God to find that RAV4 because the MTSO needed a citizen to go on the property, report it, and hence the cavalry come down to the property. And you saw what happened. Hundreds and hundreds of officers descended on the salvage yard.
Yeah, but Manitowoc was alone with that car before Queso and DCI showed up.
Right, right. So the ruse was to bring that vehicle to Stephen's property to nail him.
Yeah.
And as you said, Millbilly, you said a very, very interesting point. A lot of the evidence showed up after Cuss Road.
All of it
All
did.
the damning,
Besides
all
the
the
car?
damning.
Besides her car?
Yes,
All the evidence showed
yes.
up after the 7th.
All the damning evidence.
And
Correct,
I've
correct.
heard multiple news reports that they say that they found bones on Wednesday. Not Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday was Cuss Road. 8th is Tuesday. Wednesday is the 9th.
Yes.
And we have that call in the
Down
after.
there,
We have that
Nebraska.
call in the afternoon about them finding bones and having to expand the crime scene.
Correct. Correct.
Unbelievable.
And I don't think the investigators were prepared for all the findings at the Manitowoc County gravel pit. That certainly was a big surprise for them.
I just want to know when Casey gets her day in court and she asks Andrew Colborn, "What did you mean by Teresa Hallbach west of Avery's?" Because you said it.
Correct.
You know, I can tell you right now, he's going to say, "I don't recall that. I don't recall that."
I don't recall.
That's easy.
Correct.
And all that screwed up face that he's complaining about.
That's right.
I mean, if you look at the depositions that were done during Stephen Avery's civil suit, how many times did people say, "I don't recall, I don't remember"? And that's exactly what would have happened with Kacerik and Vogel. They would have kept on saying, "I don't recall."
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen if it even gets ever a new retrial. Everyone's just going to sit there going, "I don't recall. I don't recall. I don't recall. I don't know." It's just going to be like, seriously, oh, whatever.
And you know what? That's why I believe ultimately this case will be solved in the same way that Sean Ellis was.
Yeah,
That
I
he
agree.
will be released because due to the passage of time, people don't recall.
I mean,
And so they'll release Stephen. They will release Stephen.
Is it a coincidence that they give the bones back and then they intentionally don't give Zellner the report of them doing that?
No, that was deliberate and targeted because they knew that new technology was available to test the
Or
bones, to
they
test the
knew
cremains.
that it's not going to be Teresa.
Well, according to Eisenberg, there was only one victim.
Yep, didn't prove it was her though. 7 low
Tony,
ain't good enough for
why
me.
would that be afraid, Tony? If it's really her in the burn pit, then what do they have to fear?
Well, I personally believe that it is Teresa Horbach based on my analysis of the DNA forensic evidence. I don't think that's what they fear. What they fear are the cremains that were found at the Manitowoc County gravel pit. And the reason why they fear that is the state story is that Teresa Horbach never left the property. So you know that they found an ilium bone in the burn pit. Well, they also found another part of the pelvis at the Manitowoc County gravel pit, right? So how was the state going to say, well, Stephen decided to pick up a few bones and bring them to the Manitowoc County pit, and he decided to bring some of Teresa's pelvis? Hey, if you're going to move bones, you move all of them or none of them.
Was
So
the skull
hence that.
found in the pit too?
Sorry?
Was part of the skull with the bullet fragment or the bullet hole?
The cranial bone fragments were in the burn pit, according to what was found in the box.
This is
Correct.
the bit I don't get, right? Okay, so they find the most major part of, say, it is Teresa, of her bones in the pit at Stevens, but yet the rest of her spread, what, a couple of miles?
Yes, and also in Yonder.
That they need. How did they find that? Just those little major bits.
Well, all the skeletal, two things.
Did you read the report? The officer, his parents used to have a butcher shop, and
correct.
They burned the bones, and that's what it looked like.
Correct. But when they did the sifting, we know that there were no photographs done of the sifting, and there was no coroner or forensic anthropologist on site. So you have to believe that what they did was those cremains that they found were from the burn pit. 2 points. One, there was no entire bone. They're all tiny bone fragments. About 50% of the skeletal remains are missing.
There's video of them taking photos of the burn pit.
That is correct. That's correct.
There's news reports of them flying over and a guy standing in the pit taking pictures.
That's correct.
But there's so much that they won't release. Thousands of photos taken by Manitowoc. Why do you think that Calumet went into Manitowoc's evidence storage and just took pictures of their evidence?
That's correct.
Why wouldn't they just take the evidence? What are they holding it out for? If they had nothing to do with this investigation.
Because
if they were only there to help Calumet, why does Manitowoc have stuff in their evidence possession if they were there just to assist them?
Well, Billy, we know.
We have all these photos of the... Yes. It doesn't make sense.
They wanted to direct the investigation without putting their hands on it. So therefore, if there was anything that pointed to somebody else, they're not going to release that, right? And so the story becomes very complex. How do you burn someone in a burn pit and some of their cremains end up in Yonder burn barrel number 2? Some of their cremains end up in the Manitowoc County gravel pit. So the way Ken Kratz handled it was, we're going to ignore the cremains at the Manitowoc County gravel pit because no one proved that they were human.
You got to remember, that was his closing statement to the jury before they went and made their verdict.
That's correct.
I can't get it out of my head that the fact that the little bit of bones that they did have just were so important to the case, and they're the ones they've got. So it's almost like they had all of them, and then they've just gone, we're going to take that little piece and that little piece because they're so important to the case, and we'll put them in Stephen's burn pit.
Yeah.
Why wasn't it a toe bone? Why wasn't it part of a kneecap?
The thing is, Kaf, what is bizarre is that the larger bones were found in Yonder burn barrel number 2. And Ken Kratz explained it because he said, Stephen picked up the larger bones and transported them because he couldn't burn them or crush them enough. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
Brendan Dassey claims that after he got done burning her, he pushed the bones into the dirt.
Into the dirt, correct.
But you hear the officers saying that they were laying on top because there was a crust formed over the burn pit because it was raining. What happens when ash gets wet? It hardens.
It's gonna. Yes, correct. Yep. And you see, we now know that the ruse is broken because Trooper Reese took photographs of the burn pit on the 6th. And there are no bones sitting on top of the burn pile. And when they were asked about where the cremains were, he admitted they were sitting in a pile in the center of the burn pit. There's no photographs that show that. They got caught out. And that explains why
they
that explains
they
why there's
destroyed
no
the burn
photos.
pit.
They did. They dug it out.
I don't
They
like
dug it out.
that. I've never ever seen anything like that in my whole of my life.
Why did they destroy every crime scene?
Yeah.
The
They don't want
garage,
anyone to-
his bedroom,
Yes, correct.
the burn pit. Why didn't they have the same investigation at his property like they did at Cuss Road?
Well, despite destroying the garage, they still weren't able to pick out item FL, were they, on October 3rd?
NFK.
Well, they didn't
That
destroy
was
the
sitting there
garage
in the
till
crack.
March 1st.
Yeah.
You see in that walkthrough, they go in at March 1st, just around 5. That's a strange thing about this. While Wiegert and Fassbender are interrogating Brendan Dassey, Wendy Baldwin and the rest of the sheriff's department go to their storage, and then Wendy Baldwin goes to the Avery property before they all pounce on the place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it weren't so sad, it would be laughable. Listening to the Wiegert, Wiegert, where did he shoot her? Outside? Oh no, Brendan, he didn't shoot her outside. No, you're lying to us. Why don't you try telling us the truth? Oh, we shot her inside. Oh, okay. So they can now all of a sudden we know they shot her inside. So I can find a bullet because outside, you know what's outside? 6 inches of snow.
No, correct.
No, well, basically, Culhane couldn't put her in the house or the garage, so they did.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then they started off with Brendan, what happened to her head? And he went, oh, we punched it. And then, it's just trying
what
to
about right after you ask him, okay, I'm just going to say, who shot her in the head? Well, he's perceiving it. Why didn't you tell us that? I couldn't think of it.
Correct.
Yeah, he was being just straight up honest.
I couldn't think of the answer because it's not true.
And I poor bugger.
Can I just make the comment? The reason why they would destroy all the crime scenes is so that when there's a trial, the jury can't come and have a look and see how absurd the state's claims were, right? The burn pit was only small. It was about 6 feet.
You also got to remember, the jury only seen the computer diagram
That's correct.
They didn't see all these photos.
No.
They only see we see all what they used in trial.
Correct. And they actually brought in the skits, whatever they're called, the bobcats, and they completely destroyed the burn pit to the ground. So no one could come over after and say, hey, look, are you trying to tell me that someone got burned here?
They scooped it up, moved it to another location, dumped it on a tarp, and then sifted it there.
Correct.
With a rake.
They did they did. They did a secondary sifting.
Why did they have to move it 20 yards away? Why wouldn't you just lay a tarp right next to it and dump it on there and go through it like that? It's just like it's just like all the contents for the burn barrels. It's like they laid out a tarp, they poured everything onto the tarp, and then stuffed the tarp inside the barrel. So they could have just took a tarp out of one barrel and put it in another.
And put it into another, and you wouldn't even know. Correct.
So, Tony, so after using something with a 5-ton hydraulic lift to dig up the bones, which official was it that told us that they were worried about doing testing on the bones because they might break them?
Yeah, that was completely insane. Look, someone like Eisenberg honestly needs to be either put in prison or taken away her license, because she said that she refused to test the pelvic bone at the Manitowoc County gravel pit because she was too scared about damaging it. In other words, to prove whether it was human or animal. And you're correct. Yet they bring in bobcats to dig out and excavate the burn pit. How, if you were looking at this case from the outside, you don't know whether to laugh or cry, but yet it happened. They literally got away with something that you'll see in the Three Stooges. They did it, and they got away with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've been going for about an hour or so. thank everybody for joining me tonight. Jeff, Silkman, Kelly, Jeff. Any final thoughts?
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks for letting me know it was alive when I jumped on. No one told me that. Good morning, y'all.
Thank you for inviting me, Millbilly.
We were just
No
in a
problem.
meet.
Anytime. Thank you for coming.
yeah, our thoughts remain with the with the family, and with Stephen and Brendan, who are the real victims here.
Yeah,
Correct.
certainly are. Yeah.
Yep. It's a shame that the jury wasn't able to see things they should have,
Correct.
like the coroner. And Dean and Jerry proved that Link lied, and it still meant nothing.
No.
How much shenanigans went on in that jury room? Right after the documentary came out, jurors were coming back and said there was bartering. Some of the jurors were stupid enough to believe that because of the vote, that the negative vote, lack of conviction of the desecration of a corpse,
Mm-hmm.
that somehow automatically trigger a new trial. And what kind of morons do you have to be to believe that? But that seemed to be the type of vote trading shenanigans that was going on in that jury, which is not legal to do in a jury. So I think there was a lot of pressure. Remaker's delivering a pizza was sanctioned for that officially. They were keeping tabs on what was going on in that jury. They're very strange how that first juror, I can't remember his name right now, but he had to leave because of his daughter's serious car accident that turned out to be, just a minor fender bender.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to do everything. Sorry, Tony.
I was going to say, wasn't Jerry Pagel also at a restaurant as well with the jurors or some of the court officials as well? So it's pretty clear that they were milling around. They wanted to know the heartbeat, so to speak, of what the jurors were thinking.
Yeah, and it's intimidating.
Correct.
You don't want them to go up against law enforcement.
Correct.
I just want to plug something before we go. Mark Hodnotch, he's going to have on March 6th another MAM 101. You guys should check it out.
Awesome.